But the bottom line is you were with Barry Katz, and obviously, Barry's biggest star to date, I would have to think, between Jay and Dane Cook has to be Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Now, I had Dane Cook in here,
right.
and we talked about, I talked about this with you afterwards, and there was a very pivotal part of the interview where he accused someone of stealing his essence. I don't know if I brought up your name in that interview, did I? I think I did.
I think you did. Yeah.
Right, and Dane's reaction was, but we resolved it. We had a conversation about it, and, we resolved it.
Right.
And then, you wrote me a letter, and you said, you wrote me a message on Facebook and said, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, he has his interpretation of the events. And I certainly have my interpretation of the events. And when it first came out, I remember I got all these emails, and for years people would bring it up on the radio. Because of my podcast,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like boom, boom, boom. I was like, what is going on here today? And for years, I never talked about it on the radio. People would try to get me to talk about it on the radio on Sirius. Norton asked me a few times to come in. Opie and Anthony, I was like,
what was the myth behind it? I mean, like when people heard that, and how did it get public? I mean, what was?
Well, I mean, I think it goes along with how big he was, with how big Dane was, because it was one of those things that kind of circulated, went around, and people would just ask me about it quite a bit,
you friends?
Especially when I was on the road. No. We weren't friends. We were acquaintances.
Sure,
I would say
like
that
we all are. Yeah,
you see,
sure.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
how's things going? That was it. But what I never talked about it, and then even it's been months since it's come out, and there was a moment where I was like, I should talk. The hell with that.
When it first happened, or with me?
Yeah, when the podcast happened. Yeah,
okay,
I just didn't want to. I don't want it to become a he said she said kind of thing, go back and forth, whatever. But then I just kept getting asked about it, to be honest, and that's probably due to the popularity of the podcast.
Well, yeah, I think that there's a community of comedy nerds and people who are interested in comedy, but there's also those who like conflict and just love to get people worked up about something.
Right.
But my even after I did it, when you approached me, I thought like, well, is this going to become some sort of war? And again, it's old news, but I think that if there is a sequence of events that was sort of glossed over, and people, were damaged because of it, it's worthy to talk about.
Well, believe me, it is. When it first happened, I was affected emotionally. I was kind of bummed out, and I never wanted to talk about it because I didn't want people to think that here's Dane, who's this blossoming comedian at the time. And I didn't want them to think that, oh, this is why he's complaining, because this is why he's not succeeding.
He wasn't blossoming. I mean, he was huge, right?
At the time, it was just before he hit.
So how many years ago was that?
Oh, God. This has got to be 2004, 2005, maybe.
And
it's where everybody, if you were stand-up, you knew who Dane was.
Right.
He was getting ready to blow up.
Right.
But the rest of America, he wasn't like the huge star.
Right, but you felt that the rocket was launching.
Oh yeah, it was T-minus 10-9. So essentially, this is what happened from my interpretation.
Right.
Okay. Again, my truth.
Right.
Jay Davis had the room Dublin's, then he had the room Excess, which was the huge. Dublin's was this huge show that everybody went to.
Sunset Boulevard. That Jay Davis is a comic producer. That
Jay Davis and Ahmed Ahmed ran this great show.
Right.
And it was packed all the time.
Right.
And Dane probably had a lot to do with that success.
Right.
Everybody would come and see Dane. Now, I just moved from New York. I really didn't know Dane. I knew him because I was working with Katz, whatever, but I didn't know him.
So Barry Katz was your manager at the time already.
Yeah, and set me up with Jay and introduced me to the room, whatever. So Jay runs the room Excess now because Dublin shuts down. So I call him on Tuesdays. Hey, can I come down? And it was never a problem. Usually I'd come in if he didn't have a full roster. And I called him up one time. I said, hey, can I stop by tonight? Well, I don't think you can. Yeah, because you haven't called me back. Is something wrong?
Had you done the room before?
Tons.
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong? Oh, well, Dane has a problem with you. Dane's got a problem with me? He goes, yeah, Dane's got a problem with you. Okay, well, I got Dane's number. I'll call Dane up, So I called Dane up. I go, I heard you have a problem with me. He goes, yeah, I do. I go, okay, well, where do you live? I'll drive over and we can talk it out. We can figure this out. That's kind of how it's always been, just communicate. So right there, I got in my car, I drove over, and we did talk. Now, when he talks in the podcast, he made it seem like I'm going to do this guy a good one. I'm going to call him up. I'm going to bring him over. I'm going to sit him on my knee and have a nice chat about comedy. It's like, no. This started because you didn't want me playing Jay Davis's room.
But okay, so you go over there, and what was the conversation?
I went over there. We had a long conversation. He told me that you're stealing my essence. You're trying to be me. You're trying to, have my essence on stage. And I'm just like, look, before I moved here, I didn't know who you were. I heard of you. I didn't work 7 years in New York City for 7 nights a week, 5 shows, sometimes 10 shows a night, to try to be a knockoff version of anybody else. I'm trying to do me, Yeah. And then in the podcast, he goes, Steve even said that he had a conversation with his father about about his comedy. It was like, yeah, I was having a conversation with my dad. I'm still not trying to emulate you. It's not. You're not meriting anything by saying that. It's like literally I was trying to still discover myself. That's the conversation we had.
Yeah.
I always heard your famous thing is that it takes 10 years in comedy to be an overnight success. It takes 10 years to figure out your voice in comedy. And I had not approached that benchmark yet. And I was like, I'm still figuring it out,
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to be like you. I'm not trying to be like anybody. I'm trying to be me, but I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the gist of what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
So, in the thing, he's saying that, Steve's dressing like me. He's trying to dress. It's like, dude, jeans and a T-shirt?
Yeah.
I mean, I never wore a suit until I was headlining.
Yeah.
You name me, you look at any roster, tell me what they're wearing. Jeans and a T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I was wearing when I was performing. I wasn't trying to be like him, or I never got highlights in my hair or anything. Like, I never wore bracelets or, it just like, to me, it was mind-blowing. But we did have a conversation, okay? At the end of it, it was a decent conversation.
Did he cite bits? Did he cite
no?
certain...
And he said that. He said, I can't name a specific bit, but you're trying to be like me. You're trying to steal my essence. And I was just like,
the essencing came up over and over again.
It came up a few times, yeah. But it just he was looking for a word. That's the word he landed on, and he just stuck with it. When we left, I thought it was a decent conversation. Okay?
Yeah.
And when I was leaving, he goes, maybe it's not your time to be here right now. Maybe it's not your time to be in Los Angeles right now.
Really?
And I was just like, oh, jeez. I thought we were kind of going to end it all right. And that was the last thing he said to me before I left. And I'm not making this up. Like, I swear to God this happened. This is, again, with everything that I'm saying. He goes, I feel like I'm in this city right now. I drive up into the hills. I overlook the city, and I give the city my energy, and I get the energy back from the city. And he shut his eyes, and he started breathing in and out and kind of doing this thing with his fingers. And I was just like, this dude's just lost the plot. And I just said, I'm done. I don't know what else to say. And I go, okay, goodbye. I left. Okay, now look, we're comics.
Yeah.
I had like 2 or 3 pals at the time. Hey, what'd you do today? What'd you do today? Oh, you went to the Grove? Hey, here's what I did today. I guess Dane had a problem with me. I went over and talked to him. He accused me of stealing his essence. Oh, that's fucked up. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. All right, I'll see you at this store tonight.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, it takes like 2 or 3 guys to tell 3 or 4 more guys, and then 6 more guys know, and then 8 more guys know, okay? So now I'm at the Hollywood Improv about a month later.
Yeah.
And I see Dane there.
Yeah.
And he goes, let's go outside. I got to talk to you. I go, okay. So I go outside. He goes, why are you telling everybody about our conversation? I didn't tell everybody. I told 2 or 3 of my pals, and then they probably told a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But it's not like I made anything up. It's the truth. He's like, well, that's really fucked up, man. We had a conversation between the 2 of us. I go, look, man, I'm not trying to be like you. I don't know where this is headed, but just lay off. I don't know what the fuck's going on here, but I'm not trying to steal your essence. I'm not trying to be like you.
Yeah.
Whatever. All of a sudden, it gets a little heated. I hear...
Like heated how? Like you were going to kick his ass or he was going to beat you up?
We were just going back and forth and stuff, and he was pissed, but it's just like, dude, I'll fucking go if you want to go. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's
Are you a goer?
I've gone. Yeah.
Okay.
I've gone in my day.
I'll go.